Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I want to say welcome, everyone, to another powerful edition of the Global Leaders Roundtable, where voices rise, leaders converge, and movements begin. I am your host. For those of you who do not know me, Kenyon R. Dudley, leadership strategist, global speaker, and founder of this growing platform where we showcase kingdom minded leaders, visionaries, and change agents from around the world. Listen, for those of you who are just hearing of me, let me tell you a little bit about what my passion is. My passion is to empower authentic leaders to rise up, to speak, and to transform the world. Through my work in healthcare and business and ministry, I am building a global movement where leadership is redefined by authenticity, integrity, and impact. I am dedicated to elevating voices that inspire, influence, and ignite change. So listen, whether you are tuning in right now live from Facebook or you're tuning in from YouTube, we want to say a huge welcome. Go ahead, do me a favor right now. I want you to tag a friend. I want you to like this video and then share this broadcast. And oh, if you're over there on YouTube, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss future conversations that will absolutely ignite your purpose and sharpen your leadership. Can you do that? All right. So I want to see you tagging names. I want to see you doing the at highlight symbol over there in the comment section over on Facebook. And when I get over there on YouTube, I want to see all of those subscribers who have joined our family. All right. If you are a leader and would love the opportunity to be a part of this podcast, to be a guest right here on this podcast, and you want to share your journey, your wisdom, and your leadership story with the world, we are currently accepting applications. That's right. We are currently accepting applications. Right now, we have over 200 incredible voices on our wait list. And who knows? You could be next right here on this platform sharing your leadership journey. So, why don't you apply today? We would love to highlight your leadership journey. You can go right over to, I'm going to put it up on the screen here. You can go right over to bit.ly/. TGLR podcast. That is the way that you can sign up to become a guest on Global Leaders Roundtable podcast. All right. So make sure that you do that. I need to see you. I want to talk to you. I want to hear what you've got to say if you are a leader with a story, which I'm sure you got a pretty good one. All right. Before we jump into today's phenomenal conversation with our phenomenal guest, let me just do a quick glimpse of what's going on behind the scenes, quick announcements of what's going on. The Global Leaders Roundtable is not just a podcast. And I actually was just talking to our guest about this in the virtual green room. It's not just a podcast. It is a movement. All right. Right now, we are forging partnerships and finalizing deals to take this from virtual to a full-fledged studio experience right now in Dallas, Texas, where we are. God has already given the vision, and we are so excited about how it is expanding behind the scenes. And after a while, like they say from my hometown in Atlanta, you'll get to see it manifested before your very eyes. We are launching our very first virtual leadership summit as well in September. It's going to be featuring over 100 kingdom leaders and speakers from around the world. And if you would like more information about speaking opportunities at that particular summit, I need you to DM me right now. go and send a quick message over to me right now. And all I need you to do is put in that message, speaker, I'm in. Speaker, I'm in. And that will let me know exactly what you're talking about. You want to be a part of the virtual summit that we're going to be doing in September. You want to be one of those 100 that is going to speak on topics that matter to people that matter as we do that. So I'm super ecstatic about that. Slots are filling up really fast. We've got people who already started saying, yes, I'm going to be a speaker. So make sure that you DM me today so that we can reach out to you and go ahead and get all of that set up. And that's just the beginning. We've got so many things going on. We are planning an international tour where we'll gather live in cities around the world. We're actively accepting partners, sponsors, and supporters for that to build this global movement, how God has shown us. And so if you feel called to partner with us, reach out to me after the show. Together, we are going to shape the future of leadership. All right. So have you tagged your friends? Have you shared this on your page? Have you told the people in your contacts that we are on right now? Why? Because we are getting ready to jump into a phenomenal conversation with a phenomenal woman of God and businesswoman. Listen, she is, to me, I'm going to be honest with you. I just met her not too long ago. And to me, I believe that she is a godsend. And not only is she a godsend for me, I believe that she is a godsend for so many people that's in the speaker world, that's in the marketplace. Today's episode is extra special because I am joined by world-renowned speaker coach, mentor, and international speaker who has impacted leaders and voices across the globe. Can y'all do me a favor and just light up the chat over there on Facebook? Light up the chat with emojis over there on YouTube. Give me some fire symbols, some clapping hand emojis, all of the above, and help me welcome none other than my new friend, Terilee Harrison. Terilee, welcome.
The speaker I'm in for the summit.
Oh my gosh! Listen, I saw your message just come through. I said, okay, we've got to have Terilee to be
Oh
a
my
part of
gosh.
the summit for sure.
What a blessing to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine.
Mm,
Seriously, it is all
mm,
mine. I've been talking to my wife about this moment. We have been so excited about what God is doing and forming
mm,
through this relationship,
mm,
and also what He's going to say tonight. This is
mhm.
a special conversation.
Yes. So yes, I'm so excited to chat about this topic. It's really critical for so many people.
Yeah.
We get stuck in the things, and so I think it's time to shed light and change people's lives. What do you think?
I totally agree. I totally agree. For those of you who are on right now, listen, if you've ever felt a tug in your heart that your story, your message, your voice could touch lives around the world, today's conversation is curated just for you. And if you know somebody who feels the same way, you need to tag them and get them in here now so that they can hear what we are getting ready to talk about. And so tonight's theme, let me just go ahead and let it scroll across the screen there. It is unmute yourself, turning your story into global strategy with Terilee Harrison. So Terilee, let's just kind of dive in and we'll start here. Why don't
Yeah.
you introduce yourself formally
Mm,
to those who are listening in and watching? What is it that you do? What part of the world you're in,
mm.
and all of that?
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, everybody. I'm coming from Arlington, Texas today, right in between Dallas and Fort Worth. Did you say that's where you are, Kenyon?
I am in Dallas.
You live here?
I live here.
Oh, my gosh. Now I'm really on fire. Now there's a lot of fire emojis. Okay.
Yes.
But folks, I am someone who I empower speakers to gain credibility, to develop diverse income streams, and to be able to let go of self limiting beliefs. I'm someone, I have founded a TEDx-like experience for Christian business owners and nonprofit leaders. I took note. Some of the things that Kenya was saying, it's called Bree Talks, bold, real, and impactful. I'm like, authenticity, impact. I was like, as you were talking, right?
Yes.
I was like, oh my goodness. And this is a place for you to use your voice. I say it's a place. If TEDx is the place for your one great idea, this is the place for you to share your story, your cause, or your method in the most impactful way. And most importantly, Kenyon, I wanted to create a platform because I wanted to be free to talk about what God had done in my life. And I wanted a platform where others could be absolutely free to do the same.
I think it's so brilliant what God has you building, and not only building, but what He has you growing.
Yes.
In this hour, there are so many people with stories and with experiences, and they are having their own journey, right? And you don't really have, especially for Christians, for kingdom leaders and entrepreneurs, or all of the above, they don't necessarily have, would you say, places to actually speak, right? And share their experiences.
They don't. They would like to, and they might like to get started. And there's
Right.
minutia of even getting ready to start, but
Mhm.
they need a space, and especially the spaces that give them permission to talk about their faith.
Yes, yes. So Bree Talks is that place. I absolutely love it. I've had an opportunity to come in on some of the things that you are doing. I'm going to be a part of and doing a
So
lot more, connecting with what you're doing over there as well. How did this come about with you personally? What was that moment that God gave you this call?
the thing is, we're starting to go back a ways. Can we do that?
Yes, let's do
All
it.
right. This is almost embarrassing to admit to you and
Okay.
your many listeners, but do you know I've had a calling on my life to help over 1 million people let go of shame
Mm,
since for 11 years. The
wow.
thing about it was, Kenyon, I didn't know the mechanism.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to do it.
Yeah.
Back when this all came for me, my husband's in ministry. You knew, I told him, I said, I might be a little late for mic check because my
Yes.
husband's preaching tonight. Right. And so we've lived multiple places in that time, and even living in Southern California and Singapore.
Oh,
And now
wow.
we're serving here in Arlington,
Wow.
Texas. But the thing is, I was a localist for quite a while, meaning I was very good and active in my community and doing the things, but I didn't understand the global. But guess what? God brought an opportunity for my husband to go be the dean of a Bible college in Singapore, and suddenly all I knew was local networking. That was my
Mhm.
main thing, and suddenly I opened my eyes to what global communities could look like. And do
Yeah.
you know, Kenyon, God allowed me ahead of COVID to be running a global network. I was sitting
Wow.
in Southeast Asia, and I came to know, this is ahead of COVID, mind you, Australia wants to meet the US and Canada wants to meet the UK. And God allowed me to acquire the skills so that in the right timing, by the way, Bree Talks is 1 year old on May 1st. Thank God.
Yay!
Thank God. And I appreciate so much the people who've been around in the beginning as I stepped into my calling and was finding my way, because we
Mhm.
sometimes have to find our way
Of
inside of
course.
our callings, right? And
Of
so I
course.
acknowledge and I thank the people that have been around since the beginning as we look to where we're going now, for a year or two and beyond. But when it came time to do it, the thing is I was able, like, to say to my VA, this is what we're going to do. And we went, and within 2 weeks we had all our back end done because we had done it.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat embarrassed to say that I, in some ways, set my mission, my calling aside temporarily.
Right.
But once I said I'm in, it was nothing really to go get it started. So I thank God also for His patience, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our
No,
patience with Terilee, Kenyon. Woo.
but that's a lot of people's story, right? And a lot
Yes.
of people's experience, which is why I believe that you are ordained and anointed for this, and for speakers and people like us, because a lot of times we have the gift of the gab or the anointing and all of those things, but we sit on the sidelines because we say, well, the situation is not right, or the time is not right, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. Sometimes the mind continuously will find a reason why you can't.
Yes, totally.
You know what I'm saying?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
But what you're saying is, even though you may have experienced some of that, when you finally said yes, it's still, you found that God had prepared you, and he had
In
fully
every
started.
way, in every way. And even as I sit 1 year in, and the true confessions. Okay, so what do you need if you want to have a ministry, a business like Bree Talks? What do we need? We need an extraordinary YouTube channel to house all these stories and testimonies. Yes.
Absolutely.
1 year in, I look at what I accomplished on YouTube. I've been on Facebook, Kenyon. I've been on LinkedIn. I've been doing the things. And I look at my YouTube and I'm like, oh no. It was a line, draw your line in the sand moment. I was like, nope, I am going to, I have to do things different, right? To step into this next stage of where we're going. So I've actually enrolled in a YouTube training with other ministry leaders from around the world, and things changed this week. And it's just stepping into a level of more commitment, a level of more greatness, and getting this. They talk about unmuting, like this is the full thing, because my unmuting even more is going to allow others to be able to do the same.
Yes, I love this, and I love the transparency. I love how you are starting this conversation out by really bearing your soul, if you will, when it comes to this work that God has called you to do. Because sometimes people make the mistake of looking in on leaders like you and say, oh my gosh, everything's perfect. But no, you're still working things out in the background, tweaking things, overcoming limiting beliefs. Just because you stand on global stages, technically at this point, doesn't mean that you still don't do the work behind the scenes to get there.
For sure, for all of us.
Yeah.
As we start and then continue our growth, there's going to be continuous layers that get peeled back to be that next version and that next version.
You should always, I tell people this, and I tell myself this, you should always be evolving.
Yes.
Right? And ever growing. And if ever you find yourself at a place where you are not growing or producing the next thing, stagnation has happened, and you should be worried.
Stagnation will not help you grow a movement, and it won't help you step into a calling in a powerful way.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we're digging deep into, guys, how necessary it is to unmute your voice and to tell your story. How did you begin to help leaders tell their story at a global level? How did that come
about? The concept of Bree Talks itself is so heavy on my heart, because when we talk about someone that is muted, that is not speaking boldly, that was my life, Kenyon.
Yeah.
As I talk with you this evening, I am 58. I don't know you well enough to know if I could be your mother or not, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? But for 30 years of my life, I was muted. I was muted. And I bet that as I say that there are men and women that are listening that can totally understand, and they've been there, right? There's different things that can cause us to be muted. We all have things that happen in our life. I don't believe there's one human that has not had some type of things in their life that will cause them to to not show up as brightly and boldly. You know how little children are. They say that they say everything, but suddenly these things can happen. And I will just say, in my case, I was born with a rare condition.
Okay.
And I took on at 12 years old. I have an underdeveloped reproductive tract. And due to the circumstances around it, I took on at 12. I was different than all other girls. Okay. And I had amazing Christian parents, very supportive, doing the best they could at the time. And they didn't want people making fun of me. So it was recommended that we keep it a secret. It was recommended we keep it a secret, right? How many times have people had things happen in their life and people have said, don't tell anybody?
Yeah.
It happens, right? It happens a lot. It happens a lot. And it's various circumstances. And sometimes it is abuse. So there's all the things. And in my case, it was just, sometimes we can have shame about awkward feelings about how we're made. In my case, no one could look at me and know, but yet I woke up every day and I knew. If I could get to the gist, we're going to cut through the chase, but when we stuff the things, when we mute, we usually will derail the life we were meant to live. And we may go off, and because of these new beliefs that we take on about not being good enough, it's not okay to be me, we can derail our life and go off and have different behaviors and different feelings. And I certainly did that. I certainly did that in my life. But I'll tell you what happened 30 years in, and that's that I came to find out that when all this went down with me when I was 12, just do the math on how old I am. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have the internet. Okay? So the medical information that was told to me as I knew it back then, I didn't think about it for 30 years. You're just going through your life and the things are evolving and doing the things. But I came to know that God had made me a miracle the whole time, and I had no idea. I came to find out that it wasn't just how I was made. I have a condition 1 in 5,000 women have, and no one's talking about it. I came to find out that here I've had 2 children. I have a daughter that's 31 today, thank God, and a son that's 23. And I came to find out that these women don't have their own children. And I have a plaque right here, right? That you can go through life and we want to believe the things the Bible says about us. But in my years growing up, to think about Psalm 139, you were fearfully and wonderfully made. No, I didn't believe that. Not for a hot second, right? But guess what? Today it's my life verse. Like I found out he made me a miracle the whole time. And I thought I should not keep quiet about this. I voluntarily unmuted because I thought God did not do this for me I can't imagine facing him at the end of my life and not telling anybody what he had done for me. And so it's my coming out. It's my lessons learned. Yeah, it's my lessons learned that have helped me help others be able to use courage, bravery, to step into their most real self. And I'll tell you, one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, Kenyon, is to allow others to love you for who you really are. We just never give them a chance.
Woo! Bars. That's what we say in our generation. Bars.
Yes, we never give them the chance.
Yeah. But the way that we give people a chance to love us for who we are is if we show up authentically.
Amen. That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And if we share our story, our testimony, just the way it is.
Just the way it is. I've done so many things I'm not proud of. Like right before our podcast, my husband was preaching on forgiveness, the forgiveness God gives us, how we forgive others. And we could have a whole other podcast about forgiveness. But, but the thing is, yes, we have this opportunity to show up in a different way and not be that same person. Thank God.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the things that hold people back from sharing, their story and from, sharing their testimony, because they feel that whatever thing they've done or whatever thing was done to them or whatever that experience was is so shameful, right? That they would be judged or they would not be accepted or what have you. I want to ask this. How did you get beyond the fears of shame, embarrassment.
Mhm.
What was that moment that made
Mm,
you say, I'm not going to
mm,
walk in the silence anymore. I'm not
mm.
going to hold this to myself anymore. What was that liberating moment, if you can pinpoint it?
Mhm. Well, you knew I knew I felt the deep calling to need
Sure.
to do it. So like I wrote my testimony and published it, and I'm doing a rewrite today. So that was back in 2013. But I'll tell you what it is. It's when people come to you after
Mm-hmm.
and tell you, this helped me so much, and this is why. And the thing is the reasons they come to you are all different.
Yep.
That makes sense. What
It,
I say, my story, what you say to me about it, Kenyon, and what your wife may say, and
yeah.
what the other people say, it's so different. But it gives you permission. And I have never had anyone to my face come up and give me a bad time about my story. I've
Mm,
only had people love me more and say,
mhm,
I wish I could be that real.
mm.
I wish I could be that real. And I'm like, you can.
You can.
You
You
can.
can.
You can. What a beautiful thing it is to be fully known and fully loved. When we recently moved to Arlington, I asked to speak to the ladies at church, and I told them, I said, I want to know you,
Yeah.
and I want to be known by you.
Mm.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
I love that, and I believe it was Torrin Wells who kind of put it in that in the song the same way, like how beautiful is it to be fully known
Yes.
and to be fully loved.
Yes.
Um, Talk a little bit about how people can begin. Now, I know you wrote your story,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then you begin to go on this quest and this journey of just
Yep.
sharing and being unmute. Is that the same for everyone? Should they write their story? Should they
Mm.
what should they begin to do?
I love this. I love this. I love So number one, if you've not told your story yet, let's start small, and I want you to begin to share it. There are
Yeah,
people who probably could likely be in a marriage and their spouse doesn't know. It's
yeah.
it's it's likely in
Hmm.
because the shame is so heavy. But
Yeah.
hopefully that's not the case, right? But begin by sharing it with one person.
Mhm.
Do your work. Do find a trusted counselor, perhaps, maybe your minister, but begin to do your own work. I can't tell you how many times, Kenyon, that I'll be doing some work either with coaches or something, and something will come up, and I'll be like, I thought I dealt with that, like, because right,
Right.
right, because it's like hello, but start small, and then
Yeah,
you don't have to be out live streaming tomorrow. But I do want to encourage you to begin. Some of us are speakers,
of
and
course.
some of us are writers.
Yeah.
Some of us want to talk it out, some of us want to write it. I believe that every speaker needs a book and every author needs to speak. Do you feel that way?
Mhm. I agree. I
I just think
agree.
it all goes hand in hand. I keep right
Yes,
here
it does.
on my desk, like my Bible and some of my books, right?
Yep.
Because once you've written them, no one can take them away. No one can
Absolutely.
take them away, and you can use them. But writing your book, actually, at least writing your story to begin with, or
Mhm.
writing a speech of what you want to say about your story, it's very cathartic, and it can be so healing.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
be so healing. Like, there's a process. I've heard it said, we want to show people our wounds, not our scars. Does that
Mm,
make sense? Like you
it
cannot
does.
get up and just cry through it. Like you have to be to a place where you can share. And what I want you to know, Kenyon, is that a lot of times people will hold back because they're afraid of what people think. Sometimes they are worried about exposing a sticky mess, because
Sure. Yeah.
my situation wasn't uh, well, it was my health. It was, hey, let's not be made fun of. But there are some situations when people say don't tell this, that we don't want to expose our neighbor, we don't want to expose our family member, or
Right.
some of the
Yeah.
things that have happened, right? And so there are ways, though. I talk, and I'm going to give you a little teaser inside of my testimony when my life got derailed and detoured, and so I openly say that in my life I've been the cheater, I've been cheated on and I've been the other woman.
Mm.
Begin to, right? There are ways to describe what happened and have people
Mm-hmm.
fully get the thing without needing all the details. No one necessarily needs all those details.
I
So
love
if I can give one more example along
Yes,
that line,
please.
go ahead. Oh, yes.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. And so I met somebody more recently, and I'm going to give him, I call it throwing people on the bus, not under the bus.
Ah,
And so I like to throw on the bus tonight the amazing Herman Taylor that's out of the East Coast. He is someone that teaches about overcoming and getting rid of self-stigma. And he will say, he heard me talk like this, and he's like, I didn't know I could talk about me. He says, I only thought I was going to talk about personal and professional development. He goes, but you gave me permission.
mm,
That's my calling, to give everyone permission. And so
mhm,
now he says, and you can totally get it, right? He says, I have faced incarceration, I have
mm.
faced addiction, I have faced depression, and I've been suicidal.
Wow.
We get the full
You
picture.
get it. Yeah.
We get the full picture. Now, do we love all the stories, all the details? Yes, but sometimes we can paint a picture and not be worried about all the details and all the minutia, and
Yeah.
still begin to have people understand our journey.
I think that's so clever, so wise in most cases, because some people are dealing with the truth of the matter is they are dealing with some very sticky things,
Yes, they
right?
are.
And
You know,
it's not as easy to come out and say, right, all of the details. But what you're saying is what you do in your work, even now with those speakers and those writers, you're helping them and teaching them how to tell the story
yes,
to a way where it's effective,
yes.
right? We get it, but it's not, in some cases self-incriminating or what have you.
Well, yes, and the thing is, you can choose. We're always at choice. We're
Sure.
always at choice about how much. And in a speech, you're probably not going to have time to full like double down and get the whole cheat or cheated on, right?
Right.
There's things I'd love to tell you if we had time about some of the juicy stuff, but you don't need, but we don't need to necessarily go there. Now, in a book, you're probably going to go there a little more
A
deeply.
little more,
But
yeah.
even then, you can change names. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to necessarily, like, there are ways to be authentic about your story. And this is what I want everyone to know, that sitting here, that you're a kingdom leader, and
Yeah.
people may not know certain things about you, but our transformation and the power of what God has done in our life, that's one of the most powerful testimonies that we can give, how he's
Yeah.
changed us. I say, if he can change me, he can change anybody. But if
Mm-hmm.
we hold back and we don't share that, how can we really help people in a deep and meaningful way?
We are overcomers. What is the scripture? By the blood of the Lamb and the word of our
That's
testimony,
right. That's right.
right? And the imperativeness, if that's a word, of telling your testimony.
Yeah.
And I say it like this because you and I share with you in the virtual green room before we went live. I share with you that my wife and I, we have a book publishing company and all of that stuff. And so what you're saying, we love to help people tell these stories in that way because we understand the liberating feeling that they would get and that others would get. And we
Yes.
always tell people a book is also a key that unlocks doors and realms to you that would have
Absolutely.
never been open to you.
Absolutely.
People would want you to come and speak on stages and things of that nature just to share. Are you finding that a lot of the speakers that you are coaching and mentoring for global stages, are you finding that with them having a book in hand, that it's easier for them to get through certain doors?
Totally. I think it's key, even from the early days,
Yeah.
because also it brings you to a space where you really can be excellent with your speech, because
Hmm.
you've worked through some of the things. There was times in writing my book, where I still would have had wounds,
Yeah.
not scars, right? That writing my book helped me to deal, like, so some certain times that my book coach would say, your readers are going to want to know X. And I'd be like, oh, I thought I'd never have to talk about that. And I got to shut my laptop for a couple of weeks, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the at least the beginning of the writing part, whether you publish or not, I think it really goes well with beginning to unmute yourself.
Yeah. I'm going to throw a few rapid
Okay.
questions out
Yep.
there to you because whatever comes to the top of your head, just share that
Yep.
really quick. So for those of you who are just coming in, I want to reset just for a moment. We are talking about unmuting yourself. We're talking about using your story, right, as a strategy to be able to help people in your community, in your state, nation, or maybe you're called at a global level. And so we're sitting here, we're talking with the phenomenal and the world renowned Terilee Harrison. I'm super excited about this conversation that we're having already. And so for those of you who just came in, welcome in. Make sure you're tagging, you're liking, you're sharing. And if you just came in over there on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We've got conversations like this on the TGLR network that we are uploading every day. Literally, Terilee, we are getting ready to go into a marathon where we are uploading conversations like this every single
That's
day.
amazing. I love that. I love that.
Yes, yes, yes. Let's talk. Let's turn the dial just a little bit. I got some rapid fire
Okay.
questions for you that I want to ask. And again, whatever comes to your mind, just share with us so that the people can get a chance to know you a little bit more. And then we'll jump back into the conversation. So, biggest lesson from your own unmuting journey?
I have to go back to the greatest gift is to allow others to love you for who you really are. I had no idea that was even possible.
I love that. Woo, I love that. Okay. Your go-to strategy for visibility.
We have everything we need right here. We have everything right in here to reach the masses.
Yes.
And we think that we need to be on stage to be a speaker, but we can do things here every single day.
Right. You have it in your hand. Platform you love the most, stage, page, or podcast?
I'm going to say page.
Really?
Yes.
You're
I
right.
love the stage. I
Sure.
love the stage, but there's just something, there's something about the written.
Okay. One phrase that always empowers you.
I end my speeches with if you remember anything from our time together tonight, I want you to remember that you are good enough, you matter, and you are loved.
Okay. Put a pin there. We're coming back to that. We are coming back to that. Last rapid fire question. Favorite way to recharge after speaking on a stage?
I'm introverted. I have to be left alone. I've got to chill. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Just I gotta go. Like, don't try to. The extroverts want to rehash with us, and it's like, no, please let me just chill.
Yeah, it's the funniest thing because early on in my marriage, my wife was like, every time I would come down from preaching or speaking or something, I would like want to run to a room and just be to myself. And she or other people would want to go to dinner and want to go and sit and talk. And I am just drained, right? Because
Totally, I get you. So when we do something together, we're just gonna we're say, hey, goodbye, and go.
and then we will recap after what, 2 days?
At least a couple of days, yeah.
Give me a couple of days. Okay, we put a pin right there, your signature line that you always say at the end of your speeches. Can you say that again for us?
If there's anything you remember from our time together, I want you to know that you are good enough.
Yeah.
You matter.
Yeah.
And you are loved.
There are some people, some leaders, whether they are actively walking in that leadership or just now coming to an understanding that they are a leader and they have been graced for whatever area God has placed them in. No matter where they are on the spectrum, there are some people that are saying, does my voice even matter?
Mm.
Do does my story even matter? I'm still experiencing things. I
Mhm.
haven't overcome everything.
Mhm.
So how do I know that I'm actually called to speak on stages like Lee? How do I know that I'm
Mhm.
called to share at a global level, at a state level?
Yes.
Why don't you talk to them
Well,
um, from your heart? What
I would
is
love
God
to.
sharing you with you to share with them?
I would love to. Um, I would love to encourage you, if you feel any of that, to know that every story matters. Every story is unique. If there's anything I want you to know, it's that our we might feel like, oh, no one has a story like mine, but there are some commonalities in our stories that there's so many things we have in common. You would be so surprised. And God can use your story. Your story's not over. Your story's not over. If you might say, I'm still in the middle, you know what? Step out now. My story's sorry guys, my story's evolving, and it's becoming even more today. And so I encourage you, don't wait. You can always rewrite your story, adjust your talk, but don't hold back. Every story matters. There's someone who needs to hear from you, whether you are going to be helping them overcome an alcohol addiction, whether you are going to be helping them get past physical trauma that they've been through, whether you are going to be able to help them go find God again because you decided to speak up. So please do not hold back. You can begin slowly. You don't need to be on a beautiful podcast like this tonight. You can start by just, again, sharing with a friend. Maybe the first time I spoke, I asked at my church, hey, could I talk? I wanted, like, could we did it a little tea? And way back when I spoke with the ladies, right? You can create your own safe places to begin to talk. So please don't hold back. Just step right into it. I promise you, it's gonna you won't be ready. You're never gonna feel ready, but it's afterwards when the people say, this is how you help me, that's when you know it was the right thing.
I certainly love that. And I needed to just have that moment in this conversation because it is such a reality,
Mm-hmm.
that there are so many people that God has called to speak and to share their story and to be unmuted.
Yes.
But the enemy of their soul, the enemy of their mind, their psyche, the enemy of their culture and their surroundings would bully them. I'm going to say it like that,
Mm-hmm.
would bully them into silence.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of the matter is, the way that you beat a devil, I'm gonna get a little preachy here,
Yeah.
but the way that you beat a devil, the way that you overcome is by two things: the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony.
That's right. That's right.
And when you said that I was like, oh no, we've got to go back to that because so many people need to know that they can
Mhm.
start wherever they are.
Yes. They don't have to show up like you and I tonight. I
No,
didn't
no.
show up like you and I tonight. And the very first time I told my story, Kenyon, I was already like speaking for business, okay?
Yeah.
But speaking for business and sharing the guts of you, sharing all your things. Like, I had the worst cotton mouth I've ever had in my life. It was like we had a cabin in the woods that we hadn't turned on the plumbing for 30 years, and you turn the water on and it's like, you know,
Right.
right? But the thing is it was really a physical experience.
Yeah.
And I've never had that since.
Wow.
Ah, I love this one. It's so true. I believe every time you tell your story, it's healing to you and healing to others.
Yeah.
And so there's eventually going to come a time when you are good, right? And but how dare we hold it in and not go help other people?
Yeah. Yeah. Guys,
Mm.
there's so many people watching. I see you guys over on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching in. I see you all on Facebook. Thank you so much for the comments that are coming up on the screen. I really appreciate you all for engaging. I'm going to give one moment before I let Terilee go because I want to respect her time. But I want to give somebody over on Facebook. if you have a question, one question that I'm going to share with Terilee that you want answered. All right. We've been talking about speaking and sharing your story and unmuting yourself. No matter where you are in life, just begin to tell that story. There are ways, while you guys are thinking of your question, I'm going to say this. There are ways that you can tell your story, and Terilee has the grace to show you how to do it, especially when it comes to the stage. Terilee, while some of the people are thinking of the question that we're going to choose from, why don't you share? How can people stay connected with you? What can they do as far as connecting with you online, so that they could be a part of what you're doing?
Mm, I love that. I would love them to. They can find me across multiple platforms at Terilee Harrison, just like I'm spelling right there on the screen. Our Bree Talks channels, remember the YouTube training. You can. I'm going to be really stepping up and stepping out to grow across the board. And Bree Talks can be found at Let's Talk Bree. Kenyon, every Brianna and Brittany took all like the Bree Talks hashtags and stuff, right. You understand that, right?
Yes.
So Let's Talk Bree. We have everything from a free Facebook group, the Christian Speakers Global Collective, where you can come and be nurtured and network with other Christians. And may I quickly say that in addition to like giving a 15-minute Bree talk, that I'm also called to collect thousands and thousands of 3-minute or less power testimonies. And I call them the Bold Bible Minutes. So when you follow me, you'll be able to see, oh, they're going to record Bold Bible Minutes. I would love to collect. Maybe you're not ready for a 15-minute talk yet, but you might be interested in a 3-minute talk.
Yeah, I love that. Y'all, Terilee is doing so many things. I'm gonna say most of you who follow me and my wife, we're in business, and it's rare that we find people that are genuine, that are spirit led, and that are just on the money, like on the thing that God has called them to do. And I know for a fact, she doesn't need to hear this from me at all. But I say this humbly. I know for a fact that she's called to do this. She's called to bring these stories out of you. She's called to bring people from around the globe to the stage to share. Can you just really quick, because I really want people to get the gravity of what God is doing through you. What countries have you worked in? Because it's truly a global assignment that God has with you.
Well, we served in Singapore for 5 years. So I've
Right.
been blessed to travel throughout Southeast Asia, to India, to the Philippines, to Indonesia and Thailand. But we have people on our Bree Talks calls already that have been there from South Africa, from the
Mm-hmm.
UK, from India, looking to expand our time offerings to be able to start to bring in Southeast Asia and Australia, etc. So I'm just really delighted to open this up to people worldwide.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I see Brenda Phillips. She says, can she repeat the Christian
Uh-huh.
speakers group?
I can,
Um,
I can if you want.
yes, go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
If I was
Please.
to give a quick URL, it'll take you right there. The main name is the Christian Speakers Global Collective, but the URL is csgc.live. csgc.live.
All right, guys, and I put it right over there in the
Okay.
chat. CSGC.live. I'm putting it up on the screen.
Thank you.
Run, don't walk, to go to that link, and make sure that you guys connect with Terilee. I see some familiar names over on Facebook, so I'm going to be expecting to see you within Terilee's ecosystem and what she's doing, because I know that you've been called to speak and to share and to unmute. And so you have been met with a divine destiny moment. She is a international speaker herself, but she's also coaching those speakers to be able to get to the platform and share something that's going to transform lives. So listen, I'm hating that I have to bring this to a close.
I know, but I know we're going to have more
Yes.
conversations. But what a blessing it is just to be on episode 4 of what you're up to. I thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. I really do. Thank you. So you'll be seeing more of Terilee and I. Thank you so much, Terilee. I appreciate your time. And stick around just for a moment while I wrap things up. All right.
Yes.
All right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I just appreciate all of what just happened this evening, this afternoon. Um, oh my God, what a phenomenal conversation we have had. If you enjoyed this conversation, just give me some fire symbols over in the chat. Give me some fire symbols over there on YouTube and on Facebook. That lets me know that you appreciated this conversation. It was valuable to you. I know that it was valuable to me, but I want to make sure that my audience got something from this, which I'm sure you have. This is an important time for you to unmute your voice and for God to bring to your life, bring across your path a woman of God such as Terilee Harrison. I don't believe it's by happenstance or by chance. I believe it's by divine order. And this is the time for you to connect in whatever way God is calling you to connect with what she is doing. Listen, thank you so much for being a part of tonight's broadcast. Listen, don't forget, if you are interested in being a speaker for our massive September virtual leadership summit, I need you to DM me after this broadcast and make sure you put speaker I'm in. That lets me know you want to be one of the 100 speakers that's going to be on the virtual summit for the Global Leaders Roundtable Virtual Summit. Family, today was powerful. Thank you again, Terilee, for joining us and sharing so much wisdom with us today. Everyone watching, this is just the beginning. The Global Leaders Roundtable is a movement. Like I've said, it's a global community of leaders rising up for their with their authentic voices to change nations, industries, and generations. So stay connected, stay steady, and if you feel called to partner or sponsor or sow into this movement in any kind of way, reach out to me and let me know. Great things are happening, and I would love for you to be a part of it. Until next time, keep leading, keep speaking, and keep moving the world forward. I'm Kenyon R. Dudley, signing off from the Global Leaders Roundtable, where voices rise, leaders converge, and movements begin. See you next time, family.